In demand. Trevor was feeling glum. Summer had come and gone, and there was much less work to do. There were no fairs to attend, or children to give rides to. All he could do was watch the leaves changing color and falling from the trees. It came as a surprise when, one morning, Jem Cole came strolling towards his shed. "Morning, Trevor," he smiled. "How about we get you ready for work?" Trevor was excited. "A job? For me?" he asked. "They need you down at the lumber yard," Jem explained. "One of the machines has broken down, so you're going to help saw wood." Trevor smiled. Truthfully, he'd hoped for something more exciting, but anything was better than sitting in the shed. Trevor was soon at the sawmill, hard at work. The workmen were very impressed. "I say, Trevor," remarked the foreman, "you're sawing more logs than the machines have lately. Maybe you should be here permanently." Trevor felt proud, but it wasn't to last. Diesel rolled into the sawmill with some flat cars. "Hello, Trevor," he said snidely. "Finally being put to some use?"
"Oh, yes," Trevor replied obliviously. "I'm taking over for a failed machine. It's quite nice to be useful," he smiled.
Diesel snickered. They only called on you because their usual machine failed. As soon as it's fixed, you'll go straight back to that lonely shed of yours. Trevor's face fell. "It's too bad you're so old-fashioned," Diesel continued. "A modern engine like me is always in demand." At that moment, Bill and Ben steamed by with a goods train. They'd heard everything and were furious.
"If that Diesel thinks he can talk to Trevor that way,"
huffed Bill.
"He's got another thing coming,"
fumed Ben. When the twins reached the harbor, they told Edward all about it.
"I'd like to teach him a lesson,"
grumbled Bill.
"We'd straighten him out good,"
smirked Ben. Now, you two," said Edward gravely. "Stooping to Diesel's level is no solution. He'll get what's coming to him, one way or another." The twins weren't listening. One way was going to be their way. Later, the twins were bringing goods from the harbor to the big station. As they passed through the forest, they spotted Diesel heading the other way with more flat cars. Their chance had come.
"Wait for it,"
whispered Bill.
"Now!"
squeaked Ben. Together, they hissed steam at Diesel as he passed. Lost in the thick white smoke, Diesel couldn't see, nor could his driver. Suddenly, when the smoke cleared, Diesel found himself straddling the rails. His driver got down to inspect. "Oh, that's torn it," he sighed. "We've run over some points that weren't set properly. I'll have to go phone for a crane." Diesel was most annoyed. Soon, his driver returned with bad news. One of the express coaches derailed in the yard. It's taking every crane they have to put things right. I'm sorry, Diesel, but it looks like you're stuck here for a while." Diesel was cross. His driver had left to have tea with a nearby signalman. The sun was going down, and the cold wind began to blow. Diesel was lonely and, secretly, a little scared. "Ooh," he whimpered, listening to the hooting and howling within the forest. Just then, he heard another noise, a slow chuffing, which seemed to be getting closer and closer. Diesel couldn't bear it. "Oh dear," he cried, shutting his eyes.
"I'm not a deer," came a voice. "I'm a traction engine."
Diesel opened his eyes. It was Trevor.
"The signalman told us you were stranded, so we've come to put things right."
Strong chains were fastened to Diesel, and Trevor pulled with all his might. He huffed and hauled until his boiler strained, but at last Diesel was back on the rails. He was quite relieved.
"So,"
Trevor smiled,
"this is what it feels like to be in demand, is it?"
Thank you, Trevor. I'm Diesel struggled, before smiling deviously. So glad to be back on the rails." Trevor chuckled knowingly. Trevor worked at the sawmill for the next few weeks, and even stayed after the machinery was mended to help with the workload. He would see Diesel bringing flat cars and taking logs away every day. Although Diesel didn't become any friendlier, there was no talk of being in demand from that point on.